All right, how's it going? NFT.NYC 2023. Woo!
Let's go. Come on.
There we go.
Let's get some
Hype crowd in the back. I'm Jake Steinerman. I'm the head of community at Spatial. We're a platform that allows creators, developers, artists to build their own worlds, games, experiences that can live on web, mobile, and VR. You can build in Unity and one-click publish, have your games and experiences living across platform with avatars that live across vehicles, immersive experiences, all that jazz. All those experiences can be token gated. You can import your NFTs and art into those experiences, create galleries. It's all with a community of hundreds of thousands who are building worlds, building their own communities and ecosystems in the metaverse.
Hey guys, my name is Daniel. I'm also known as Kodama.eth. I'm working for Tokapi. We're a hybrid platform allowing normies and Web3 degens to collect digital. And besides that, I'm a passionate gamer with 10K plus hours of game time in several genres. And I'm just super passionate about Web3 gaming and Web3 enabled gaming, and that's why I'm here.
Hello, everybody. My name is John Waltz, aka Mr. Walrus. I am the creator and founder for House of Parlay. We are an online casino arcade, crypto arcade on Solana. And one of our biggest things that we found out is that there are no regulations within Web3 gaming, and that anybody saying that they have a license is pretty much fooling you. So what we've taken is all the regulations from Web2 casinos and built them into Web3 regulations, basically in a decentralized fashion. Also into an arcade mechanism, so that way you have crypto in, valueless credits, and then you buy your NFTs from there and cash out with those at our third-party provider. So basically what we're trying to do is provide that same kind of regulation mechanism that you would see in a normal standard casino. Whether you have a basic balance, you have to have a certain amount at the end of the day, owner's docs, etc. So that's what we're trying to do right now and building that up. So that's what we got going. What we had discussed a little bit earlier about not reinventing the wheel. We have so many projects trying to do the same thing rather than relying on others that have had great experience doing it. So get us a little bit more on that, what we were talking about backstage. That'd be cool.
Yeah, totally. I think we see this a lot in the Web3 community, right? Over the last couple of years, projects have built up their communities either through land sales or PFP sales or whatever it might be, and then using a lot of those funds to essentially roll their own when it comes to building their own metaverses, their own experiences, and things like that. I think what we were talking about is, from our perspective at least, a lot of these projects and communities don't necessarily have the game development experience to build like a truly efficient, stable infrastructure for those experiences. And what you also end up finding is these communities, I think a lot of the vision of NFTs and Web3 and the metaverse is that we're all living in one, ecosystem or with shared assets that live across. But it's seemingly, with every passing day and month that as these platforms, as these games get built, they're living more and more in silos. So we're building these projects and these NFTs, and they're living separately from one another. Not saying that there needs to be one platform to rule them all, but I think we need to work on developing more standards because really the dream, right, is we have these NFTs, and for a lot of the utility of them, we talk about the word utility gets thrown around a lot. I think it's essentially thinking about the fact that people are spending and will be spending more and more time in these 3D virtual worlds and being able to do something with them, whether that's access to a space or being able to transact in these 3D spaces and things like that. So how do we develop better standards so we're not building our own worlds and then we look back in 5 years and everyone's off doing their own thing and we're not like a cohesive community anymore?
Exactly. And that's kind of one of the aims that we had with the standardization of what we're doing. We have a couple other projects besides our own running on the same mechanism, and we know that those guys can be trustworthy because they've gone through our process. And I think that's the thing is, for us, as we expand and want to do an arcade, etc., why try to reinvent the whole wheel and waste a bunch of money when I have the tools right there?
Yeah, and I'm curious to hear your perspective as well, because from our end, I think these projects and communities really should be focusing, any funds that they've garnered through sales and through their communities should really be going back into the art and into the community itself versus kind of the roll your own infrastructure. So as a developer yourself, like I'm curious to get your take on that.
Yeah, definitely as a gamer.
Yeah, I think we should always look at, for example, what the big players in the space are doing. And if you look at Yuga Labs, they also partnered with Improbable.io and didn't try to do it all by themselves. Obviously, that was also stimulated by having the same VCs and everything. But still, in my opinion, it was the best move of Yuga in the last 2 years, partnering with Improbable, because they've been working on their tech since 2017 or even longer. And also Elrond, now called Multiverse X, is also using M². And the vision of that is basically that you have an interoperable multiverse of different metaverses, all powered by the Improbable tech. And I think teams are well advised to stick to that and try to utilize what they've been building for several years with a team of, I think, even 900 plus engineers. And as you said, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and it's super hard to build a game from scratch. And the people that start in Web3, they have Web3 experience and not game development experience. And I think there's a lot of money lost by trying to figure everything out themselves.
Yeah, and I was just at GDC, the Game Developers Conference, a few weeks ago, and the two words that were not whispered in the entire halls of Moscone Center were NFTs and metaverse. Like, I think there's a big divide there, but what I think we need to happen is how do we figure out how to bridge those divides? Because we have the gaming industry, which is becoming more and more core into what Web3 is becoming. I think just seeing the trends this year, right? Last year or the year before was the year of like the PFP. This is the year of gaming. I think the gaming stage is one of the most important ones here. So how do we essentially bridge the gap between an industry that's been around for 30 years or more and has that experience, and what is, obviously we're all here because we believe this is the future. How do we combine those two and bring those two together?
Yeah, I think the first thing we have to do is try to obviously be careful with the lingo and stuff, because not everybody's hip with that. But it was also kind of thing we were discussing earlier. How can we make it as simple as possible? Where like a walletless, touchless solution where it is based all on crypto, but you might not know it. You might be unsuspecting, and you're playing all these games. But in comparison to what we have now with these games on apps, where you put money in and you get squat out, we can actually start rewarding players for that. And it's always, what's in it for me, and so that's what we have to think of too, is what's going to drive them to go there.
Yeah, I mean, the example I always really like to look at is like what Reddit's done as an example. They've rolled out, essentially, a Web3 layer, but didn't use any of that terminology. It was, digital collectibles, and there is a wallet, but no one even knows that they, unless you're paying attention. As a regular Reddit user, you don't even necessarily know that you have one. You just have this limited edition avatar in there too. So I think it's following trends more like that, where the tech, I think, is very important, but it has, if we want this to reach mass market, if we want, Javits Center next year, if we want this to be packed shoulder to shoulder, we have to, essentially all that tech has to work in the background versus it being the first thing we talk about.
Yeah, it's just like the way I try to do it. Like if I go to Grandma and Grandma's asking me what an NFT is, I'm like, it's a digital baseball card, essentially, Grandma. And she's like, oh, all right, yeah, you get it. So you just have to try to figure out what those relatable terms are to make them understand. Go ahead.
Because you said it has to get a lot easier. I think account abstraction is obviously a buzzword and super hyped. But account abstraction essentially can solve a lot of the UX, UI problems and technical hurdles we currently have. Yesterday, a guy came to me that they are developing on Polygon for quite some time, and he showed me, we're experimenting with account abstraction, and I was able to set up a wallet on my phone with fingerprint. That's basically my backup, and fees are paid by the game now. So I can just approve a transaction by clicking yes or no. Let's say in-game, you open a loot box. It's all on-chain, but I just don't have to click on yes or no. And all on-chain transactions are automatically happening because it's all powered by account abstraction and everything that comes from there. So I think that can be a huge game changer in onboarding the masses, because it's making a game experience much more natural. And yeah, I think that's an important part and could change a lot. Let's see if it really happens. And yeah, that's my 2 cents to technology has to move to the back end, and it has to get easier.
It's your,
It's like
your
rib-
2 ETH, if you will, not your 2 cents. It's your 2 ETH, not your 2 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah, crypto's definitely way more than just the magic beans. I mean, there's so much behind it, you know. It's definitely that evolution that we're seeing of the internet too. Like, I mean, I know that's the bigger geeky stuff, but you know, I think that's also the stuff that we have to kind of remind people too, is and relate to them. This is what we have going on. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, it's hard to hear. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think this, if you ask like the average person how, you know, current gaming infrastructure works or how current, you know, banking infrastructure works and all that kind of stuff, like, no one's going to know. And I think no one has to know how that works. There just has to be that
Right.
digital, you know, that traceability, that ledger, that trust in that system to do that. No one's going to, you go to a mom and pop shop down the street and they're not going to care if it's Polygon or ETH or whatever it is,
Right,
as long as
right.
it works and as long as it gives them value as a business owner, if you're a gamer, if it gives you value in that sense. Most people aren't necessarily outside of this industry and this hall.
Right.
The average person isn't necessarily going to care. Maybe we can get them to, but I think if we look realistically today, they don't.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, it's just like being a native of the auto industry in Michigan and seeing them
Yeah.
put all their eggs in one basket. It's like you can't do that. You know, it's just
Yeah.
it's 2023. You have
Which is
to-
ironic because the auto show is literally happening right next door right now.
Right,
So,
right, exactly. So we're seeing the dying edges of that, but excellent. So what other kind of games and what kind of stuff do you play? You said you were a streamer as well.
No, not
No?
streaming, but I'm like in the space. I'm looking forward to other side. I don't know if anybody here played the second trip, but it was quite impressive. 8,000 people simultaneously doing missions. So I think that's pretty bullish. And I'm closely watching in general what is happening in the Web2 gaming world. And if we see signs of big game studios going towards Web3 enabled gaming. And for example, I don't know if you know Dr. Disrespect. He's an American streamer,
Yeah.
one of the biggest, top 3, I guess.
Yeah.
And he's working on a Web3 game, which is a big thing in my opinion, because he's streaming to 20,000 people every day. And I believe that, you know, change has to come from within, because the gaming community is quite toxic towards NFTs.
Yeah. Mhm.
So opinion leaders, they won't listen to a guy with an APFP telling them Web3 gaming is the next big thing. They have to listen to their leaders and their opinion leaders. And if they are, and I see a change there. Also Dookie Dash, for example, I'm too deep into Yuga Labs. Maybe it's obvious. But for example, you know, Dookie Dash, it was just a run-of-the-mill game, but a lot of people played it because it was fun. There were rewards at stake, and then this Fortnite pro gamer joined and made $1 million. And you know, he's not even 20. And I think, you know, these are the headlines that we need, that pro gamers are starting to explore Web3, that big streamers are starting to do it. And, you know, the change has to come within. You can't force it. You know,
Yeah.
we can't just go there and tell them it's the next big thing. If you don't see it, you're
You have
idiots.
to prove it. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to prove it, and it has to, and because often, you know, the Web3 community is not the best in dealing with negative feedback. You know, often you see like then our audience with PFP becoming super aggressive on Twitter when someone is posting negative stuff about NFTs, and that won't help. You know, that's not the way to do it. So I see a lot of positive stuff.
Yeah, 100%. Well, what was your? I didn't get to play the second trip in other side. What was your experience like? I watch like the videos and stuff, and sometimes I go like, holy shit, there's like, you know, how many thousands of people playing this at the same time. And I think that's something we encounter a lot at Spatial, is a lot of requests being like, how can I get tens of thousands of people like in my experience at one time? And I think it's setting the expectation that, you know, having a YouTube stream that like millions of people can watch is very different than a 3D world with thousands of people in it, right? Because in the 3D world, in these metaverse spaces, it's almost like giving like, you know, a Twitter legs or like Reddit comments like legs. It's just can be like complete chaos because everyone's got a body and arms and legs and stuff like that. So what was your experience like with like being in the same space with thousands of other people?
It was insane, in my opinion. You know, you joined the lobby, thousands of avatars running around, and everyone can talk. So, and they managed audio is amazingly well done. So if you're close to someone, you hear him. If you're moving away, you're hearing the person you're getting closer to. And I was talking, I call it outer rim, because in the center, it was just chaos. But when you went to the outer skirts, you can just meet up with people. I talked to someone from US, some Asian guy, someone from Ukraine, and just like, hey, how are you? What are you doing? What's your Twitter? And then in the middle, people were singing a birthday song for someone. And then the trip started, and 7,000 avatars were like funneled into this new world. And then we were divided in 4 teams, and it was just like a big raid in a very simple raid in World of Warcraft, a competition. And I was in a Discord server, everyone was talking, and then when the game started, it was silence for 30 minutes. And I was super, super impressed. And no lags.
Yeah.
Graphics were okay, and the thing is, it's all browser-based, so you don't have to download anything. You can join from anywhere in the world by just clicking on the link, and then you start.
Yeah,
so it was very impressive.
That's the key thing also, and I think the key misconception that still a lot of people have is like, these immersive experiences, as we're calling them more and more, because the M word has become like this bad thing. There's this perception that it has to happen in a headset. But we actually found, on our platform, 60% of people that use spatial are using it in a web browser. And then it's actually a fraction use it in VR. It's a very dedicated and vocal fraction, and it's one we believe in long term. But I think today to really hit that, to get everyone like into these experiences, whether it's transacting NFTs or just having that shared immersive experience, it has to happen in a web browser. Like it can't be something you download. Like every step you give someone, can be a barrier to entry. Is one less person you're going to have exposed to that experience. So that's web browser, nothing to download, not even needing like an account or a wallet or anything. Like let someone come in right away, have that experience, and if they want to up their experience, customize their experience, their avatar in some way, like then you need an account or something like that. But let's not put up barriers to entry. I think we see that with a lot of like Web3 native gaming platforms. People who are like, oh, I want to see what this Web3 thing is about, and they're like, oh, you need a wallet. All right, I got to go set up that thing, and then next thing you know, it's like 20 minutes later, and they're like, all right, screw this. I'm not going to try.
My attention's already gone. I'm already chasing a new squirrel. Like, thank you.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like let's just get people in right away. So I think anything we do, like browser-based experiences, is a great first step. That's something that people need to realize as well, because people have really short. We're the TikTok generation now. Like people have like crazy short attention spans.
Yeah. Like fast food society for sure, and and then the VR is just getting so much more interesting too. Like I got the headset, started playing the poker and that, and then started playing golf, and it was just so immersive and so real, and that's definitely the thing that we want to see continue to develop. That awesome technology.
Yeah. Like I said, we definitely believe in that. When we started as Spatial, we started in 2017 as it was actually an enterprise AR VR platform. We were a launch app on the HoloLens and Magic Leap, back in the day. But just it's found it continuously hard to get people into those headsets, and we think that's going to happen once people are spending more time. Once headsets get to something that looks like our pair of glasses that we're wearing now, that's something people are going to be using all the time, and that's going to be the key way that people are having those experiences. But you have to have that on ramp, and everyone's got a laptop with a web browser in it. So you got to. That's what it is in 2023. Maybe next year it'll be different.
Yeah.
But we got to meet people where they are, is what I always say.
Yeah, definitely. So what do you guys got coming up now, like short term? What any big things coming up for you guys? Yeah,
huge things. So at GDC, we actually announced starting in May and into June, we're going to be launching a marketplace on the platform, similar to Roblox in a lot of ways, like in-game digital items that you can buy and sell and transact right in the platform, making a much more seamless experience. Allow creators to actually. We've had people in our community who've been building with us for a long time. Some of them are here. And they've been building for a long time, and we finally now we're at a point where we can give them that mechanism. They've built up their communities, and now there's a mechanism for those communities to have that next level of transaction within the space.
Right. I mean, it's like us. We built our first 3 games, real simple blackjack, chip flip, and like a roulette game just to battle test the system. But we also integrated with the largest casino in South Africa. So it's not just necessarily we went out and got a white label provider. We're actually in business with these people, and we're looking at 10 game providers, thousands of games, and all that stuff in the next 2-3 months. But also trying to balance it out with family arcade games in the end too. So that's what we're up to.
That's awesome. How about you? What games you're playing or things you're working on?
Basically, our platform is just continuing in biz dev, and we're trying to partner with game studios and artists all over the world. And me personally, I'm just waiting and observing the market.
Yeah.
Because obviously most of the games are not ready yet.
Right.
Most of the time you have to wait for like a dedicated experience. So yeah, I'm on the sidelines and watching Ethereum and BTC go up
To the moon.
slowly and,
Back to the moon.
back to where we wanted to be. And yeah, going to events, trying to network with people, seeing who is still here. Because I believe the people that are in this audience, especially now as well, like we are the true believers. Most of the people left. So it's nice to see that there are still a lot of cool guys here around, nice projects. And, this is the foundation that we're building now. And I'm super, even more confident in what we're doing, being here around such cool folks,
Yeah, totally. I think that's our time.
That's our
Thanks,
cue.
guys. That's our cue. That's your cue. Thanks, guys, for the conversation. Thank you, everybody,
guys.
for coming. You're a great
Everybody
audience.
come along. Thanks.
You've been amazing.
Appreciate
We'll see you
it.
later. Have a great rest of NFT.NYC. Out.